Hello everybody, and it's 1:55 a.m. here on the East Coast in the United States of America, and it's a Monday, and I have work within 7 hours, but I have to stay on the grind and do this ad hoc video, so no script today. It's just me recording and me reading about the recent events, and I'm going to be using Trestless because, well, it's just a cheap form of me getting content, isn't it? Anyway, recently, Kintor seems to have made a huge fuck up with one of their products, KX826, Pyrilutamide. So it got onto the market, particularly on Amazon, as a cosmetic after it was approved by, I think it's called the International Naming Cosmetic System, something like that. Basically, it said, okay, this is a safe ingredient. You can sell it as a cosmetic in the United States and other countries. Okay, cool. But Kintor messed up because it seems for one of their promotional materials, if I can just head to that right now, where is it? Okay, right over here. Kintor took this picture, a before and after, from the Hair Restoration, I think, network, or essentially they took the before and afters from this transplant doctor's patient, and they attempted to use it as a before and after to show their treatment working, right? Like, as if you use this, hey, you can look at this picture, this is from our clinical trials, this is what will happen with you. When in reality, they just stole the picture, right? So this is a Reddit post regarding it, and I already made a video about it. I'm not going to make too many edits to this video. It's just going to be on the fly, so I'm not going to splice that in. You can just go check it out, link in the description below. But anyway, this understandably made people pretty stressed out about it, right? As you can see, this comment over here, somebody says almost the exact same thing happened with Cosma RNA and Bioneer. And for those of you who don't know, Bioneer was the South Korean company that developed Cosma RNA. Essentially, it is an androgen receptor blocker, rather an androgen receptor silencer, and it uses siRNA technology. So it didn't work, and they essentially photoshopped in their promotions as well. This all happened about a year ago to date. So it's 2024 right now, so it happened 2023, around July this occurred. So Bioneer, Cosma RNA, they faked stuff with Photoshop, and they just used some pretty horrible editing. It's crazy. These companies have millions of dollars, and they can't seem to get a good Photoshop of things. That's pretty sad in and of itself. But essentially, people were really worried, that it seemed as if Kintor was following in the same footsteps of Bioneer, stealing photos from another source that had nothing to do with your treatment and trying to portray it as if, okay, it is our treatment as a company that causes such improvements, when that's really not the case because, well, you stole the photos, right? Well, not to be verbose on the topic, but another person 2 days ago on Trestless emailed Kintor, and essentially they got a response from Kintor regarding the false advertising, and basically they actually gave a recommendation for them to develop a topical dutasteride formulation that has some sort of meaningful efficacy. So right here in the title, and essentially Kintor just apologizes, and they said that, look, it was somebody on our advertising team that fucked up, and actually here are our pictures that we took in-house from our patients in the clinical trial. And if I'm going to be honest with you, just to blow up the picture a bit, I can see some sort of improvements if I squint my eyes and honestly look at it, but there does seem to be some lighting manipulation at play, specifically here at the lower left-hand corner. Like, this is just ridiculous, right? The after, there's just it's not the same lighting. There's too many shadows that kind of obscure the guy's scalp. If the lighting was even, maybe, we would see some improvement in this sort of bald area in the crown, and maybe the midsection could be, a bit better, but I just think the lighting on these two photos aren't comparable, and it's just kind of weird. On the upper left-hand corner, the before and after is kind of strange. Again, the lighting in the after, it's pretty dark. There are a lot of shadows. a lot of shade. It's like obscuring the outline of the head, at least from how I'm seeing things on my monitor. But realistically, it just looks like the hair was combed in a strategic manner, right? To give it the illusion of fullness. And then with the lighting as well, if you look at the before, there's a high flash, right, from the camera. In the after, that flash doesn't exist. So it seems as if there's some manipulation going on here as well. Or it's just bad photos, right? Now, there are going to be people who still support Kintor who say, well, you can't always get the same lighting. Yeah, but like you can give a better effort than this, right? And also, I'll say like the only pictures that I like here would be on the right-hand side, particularly the upper right-hand corner. We see the before and after here. Again, we have some lighting manipulation going on, but when I look at the part of the woman's hair, I can see, at least in the second photo, the after, right? That part kind of, marginally shrinks to some extent. Now, to say that is, due to Pyrilutamide, KX826, we really can't even say that, right? Because between the treatment group that received the 0.5% concentration versus the placebo group in the phase 3 clinical trial in China, there was no statistical superiority from the treatment group towards the placebo group. In other words, it looks as if pyrilutamide probably doesn't do anything, at least when it comes to the confines and methods that were used to assess within the study. So one thing some people have to understand is that sometimes when things, when you get a p-value that suggests that something isn't statistically significant, that could just mean that within the metrics that the researchers used, statistical significance could not be acquired. Now, I'm going to be fair here and say that Kintor did do a double-blind, multi-center, placebo-controlled study, and this is like a really high quality that tries to eliminate bias. So if they couldn't get any sort of statistical significance out of this, it could be the case that maybe KX826 pyrilutamide isn't that effective. Or maybe perhaps when you're using it as a topical anti-androgen and you're not using something like finasteride and minoxidil in conjunction with it, there's only so much it can do. And maybe, you're not going to see the full effects within the 6 months that they studied it within their clinical trial, right? We know that with finasteride, in order for it to flex its real results, it can take anywhere between 2 to 5 years, depending on how much hair you've lost. And again, I'm not going to edit this video with fancy pop-up images. Please just go to the description to see, what I'm talking about, right? The shedding synchronization cycles, all that will be in the description to try to substantiate what I'm saying. But maybe topical anti-androgens, at best, all they provide is some sort of shield, maybe a temporary shield to DHT, but they're not really perfect in their own right. So I could see that pyrilutamide KX826 is possibly effective. Maybe there is a chance that it is effective, but not to any significant or meaningful extent for it to be used on its own. I will say that I'm still waiting on that 1% concentration clinical trial that Kintor is doing. I think it's another phase 3 trial that they're doing, testing pyrilutamide at 1% concentration. And if that's effective, then, maybe Kintor will do some sort of thing where they'll have the 1% be the drug and the 0.5% that we have right now in the market, that can be a sort of, over-the-counter kind of option, right? Kind of like how you see things with ketoconazole. You can get the 1% ketoconazole over the counter, or you can get the 2% or 5% at a pharmacy, right? And it has to be compounded for you. Now, I want to turn my attention to the bottom right-hand corner. The before and after, the lighting here is pretty much the same. It's pretty much comparable. At least in the after, I do see some sort of, blur effect. If I'm not going to be, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh in how I'm viewing things, but to my eyes, I see some sort of blur effect going on here. But all in all, if I had to say, it is kind of weird that they're telling this guy that, oh, it's, we're taking full responsibility. We've removed the misleading images from our advertisements and have provided accurate pictures. It's kind of like, well, why didn't you just give these accurate pictures that you took in-house? Why didn't you just give it to your advertising department? You know what I mean? Why didn't you give them those images to begin with? Maybe they thought that, yeah, well, those images aren't probably good enough, so, let's go out there and, fuck it, let's go do what we gotta do. Man, que será, será at this point. I can't really stress myself out too much about this other than saying hopefully that 1% concentration of KX826, that clinical trial works out well. But also, I'm still holding out hope, or cope, I guess, either or, for GT229, the proteolysis targeting chimera, the PROTAC, that is meant to target the androgen receptors in the hair follicle, destroy it, and if that happens, then that pesky little bastard DHT can't make our lives worse than it already is in this world full of suffering. So, yeah. That's pretty much it for this video where I'm yapping. But I think Kintor made their case. At the very best, I like that now if you email them, you'll be able to get a response from Kintor. They will respond to you, at least as of the recording of this video. Because, Bioneer, they didn't acknowledge any of this publicly. People emailed them, and all they did was change the image and just kept sailing on, honey. Good times never felt so good. I think that's the song. It's the Commodores Sail On. I can't sing right now, of course, because it's late and my voice is kind of shot. But in any case, that's enough yapping from me. Looking at this picture over here from this Reddit post, and it looks like this is how the box and the overall package looks for KX826 from Amazon. So I don't, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really see any downsides to using this now. Like, if you're going to use RU58841, where we don't really have any sort of published human clinical trial data that proves that it's safe, I would kind of at least stop using that and maybe just use KX826 Pyrilutamide, right? That's probably a better choice. It's now a cosmetic. There's more human safety data, and to be honest, it has probably the same potential of being efficacious as RU58841. If not, maybe better, but we don't really know because we can't really compare the numbers for either when it comes to human data. Hopefully, we can probably get the statistics from Kintor. Maybe if you email them about it, they'll give the statistics about what went wrong in their phase 3 clinical trial. But yeah, typical, points of caution. Don't eat KX826 Pyrilutamide. It's kind of like you have to tell a kid not to, put their fingers in their mouths or some shit. There are people out there who I'm certain will ingest this along with ingesting topical minoxidil. I see it all the time. It's kind of cringe, to be honest. And yeah, if I had to say, this would definitely be a better alternative to RU58841. And maybe, just maybe, because it is a topical anti-androgen, I wouldn't be surprised if, you could low-key use the 0.5% concentration, this particular KX826 brand, if you could use this as an anti-acne treatment, because it is an anti-androgen. And remember, the mechanism of action with Winlevi, or CB0301, also known as clascoterone, is that it attaches to the androgen receptors in the sebaceous gland, and then it helps suppress the sebaceous gland such that it's not producing that bad sebum anymore, right? That sebum that's rich in triglycerides and cholesterol that causes the bacteria and yeast to kind of feed on it and inflame your skin. That's why Winlevi works. It goes in there, blocks those androgen receptors, and prevents essentially the sebum from the sebaceous glands from producing bad sebum, like I just said before. So maybe we could use Pyrilutamide as a alternative, right? Maybe it could be used as an acne treatment now. But in any case, I'm done rambling. It is 2:11 a.m. What time? What's today's date? I don't even know. It's July 29th, 2024, and I have work in like, I think 7 hours now. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the support. Hopefully these ad hoc videos are a bit more conversational. And yeah, maybe I'll get Pyrilutamide. Maybe. See ya.